Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about success. And with success also comes failure, of course. And I think that this is one of the main reasons that keeps people from pursuing their passion, from pursuing their dreams, pursuing their future career ambitions and goals. Because sometimes it's easier and it's safer to stay where you are. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely respect that. But I also believe it's important to be happy with what you're doing for a living. And I think probably one of the greatest things that I do is make the career change to pursue something that I was passionate about. If anyone watched or listened in on a podcast that I was on recently, I talked about a little bit of a story where about 2 years into the business, my dad said to me, "You know what, honey? You gave it a good shot." And that was a bit of a wake up call for me because I realized that him saying that really made me reflect on the business. And I realized, I'm not where I want to be right now. And I need to make some changes to do that. And it was probably one of the greatest things that he ever did for me was point out the fact that I was failing. And that's what I want to talk about is the importance of failure. Now, of course, no one goes into business with the idea of failing. Obviously, we all want to be big success stories. But it's important that you understand that in order to be successful, you need to be able to make mistakes and you need to be able to learn from them, most importantly. I am not perfect. I know, surprising. People often think that I am. Sorry, just kidding. In any case, I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. I'm, quite normal. I stumble every day, not just in my first years. I mean, I know it's easy to make things look so easy and so natural now. And the truth of the matter is that things do come fairly naturally to me now. And, most of my business is very systematic. It is flowing nicely and it's fantastic to be in that sort of position. But I still make mistakes. They're still going to happen. The importance is anytime a mistake is made, I always reflect on it. First of all, to determine where I went wrong. And I think that's the number one thing when a mistake is made. Look to yourself before you look to someone else to put the blame on. It is so easy to blame other people. But it's always important to reflect and see where you went wrong. So, for example, if one of my staff members makes a mistake, why did I not train them properly to avoid making that mistake? Right? It's not to say that they're completely blameless or not at fault whatsoever, but the point is that you need to be able to reflect on where you went wrong and what you would do the next time. Because if you continue making the same mistakes, you are destined for failure in the end. But I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for some things not working out the way that they were supposed to. And like I said, most importantly, my dad making that comment to me. And when he said that, I had to do some reflecting and think, what is it that I want to do for the rest of my life? And is this it? Or do I need to be in a different career? Or, maybe I need to just throw in the towel on this one. And the more I thought about life without home staging, the more I realized that this is where I was meant to be. This is where my passion was. Every time I was sent out on a consultation, I just knew as soon as I finished, it was just such a great feeling of, I've really helped this person. I really got a chance to shine on this one, and I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I had to sort of hunker down and figure out how I was going to do that in a way that was going to make me successful. Probably one of the number one things that had to change was defining my market and making sure that I was marketing to the right clients. I definitely made a big mistake in my initial business plan about that. And then one of the other aspects I think was in improving my sales techniques. I've always considered myself quite a salesperson, but I realized it was a very different thing when you're trying to sell yourself. So I went back to the business plan. I think this is the other thing that's important too. It's an easy thing when you're starting a business to create that business plan. And if you haven't done so already, it's never too late to create that business plan, even if you're already operating your business. But it was important that I created that business plan, but then also that I go back and reflect on that business plan and update it as needed. It doesn't have to be a big, formal, massive 50-page plan every single time that you update it necessarily. But don't be afraid to go back and revisit it and see what are you doing that you set out to do? What are you not doing that you set out to do? And the things you're not doing, why aren't you doing them? What's working well for you? Where is the majority of your income coming from? It's important to continually reflect on this throughout your business. The other thing in terms of making mistakes and having failures and yada, yada, yada is you want to make sure that you are asking for feedback. I had a stager work with me for a few months last year. And she came from a different market than the market that we're in. And she was shocked at how much behind the scenes stuff that we did. Now, keep in mind, I do have an office assistant. So some of the things were not implemented until I knew that I had someone who could manage them full time. However, one of the things that's been in place for pretty much since the beginning, at least since I rebranded my company a couple of years in, is surveys. So feedback surveys. And this is not just about asking for a testimonial. This is a very different thing. Don't get me wrong, I still ask for that testimonial in these surveys, but what we do is every single time we work with a client, even if it was just for a consultation, we send them a short survey to complete following it. Not everyone fills it out, but majority of people actually do. This helps us to measure what we're doing well, what could use improvement, and what we're doing fantastic. It also helps to give us a real good perception as to how, or perspective I should say, as to how others perceive us. So that's really important to ensure that you're constantly measuring your business and where your successes are. So we do not send the survey until the job is complete. And by job being complete, what I would say that means is the house has sold. Okay, so if we do a consultation with a client, there's no point in us sending them that survey if they've just listed their house for sale. They can tell us how great we were to work with, but they don't know that what we actually told them has any value or merit to it. So by waiting until the house is sold, we continue to stay with them throughout the process, following up with them, sending short little emails. How are things going? How can we help? So that when the process is done, we can send out this survey and ask them how we did. Every once in a while, we get one of these surveys back that shocks us, that we had no idea that someone was disappointed with an aspect of the service that they received until we get this survey back. And that's a real eye-opener sometimes. But most of the time, we're not overly surprised by the remarks that we get. But it is always interesting to see what they valued the most about the process, what was their least favorite. And that's also helped us to really improve as a company as a whole. So when you start getting a number of people that are saying that their least favorite part about the process was all the stuff that they had to do, of course, there's no way to change that. But how can we make that process easier for them? How do we make it easier for them to manage all the stuff that they have to do? Well, that comes with offering some additional services and teaming up with some additional vendors to make it as easy as possible as we can for them. You're never going to be able to please everyone all the time, but in our business, customer service is absolutely key. So remember to fail when you have to, but embrace it and turn it into a success, okay? Always find that silver lining, turn it into a success, learn what you can do next time. That is how, I mean, every famous person who's made tons of money out there will tell you that they failed several times before they ever got it right. Thomas Edison was the king of that. He says, I haven't failed, I just found 10,000 ways not to do something. So take that as, and Thomas Edison, he went on to invent some of the most, obviously the light bulb's the number one thing that we remember, but he invented a number of incredible equipment pieces that we're still using today. So take that for what it's worth. I hope that this helps you moving on. And remember that it is natural and 100% normal in this type of business or in any business to make some mistakes, but be sure to always take the time to reflect on them and learn what you can do different for next time. Hope you've enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day.